Chapter 1891. It's on a very desolate planet. This universe seems to be very desolate. I've searched countless galaxies, but I haven't found a single planet with life. Soon after, Carl sent over the exact location information. It was a place Wang Feng had never heard of. However, for a universal-level life form, as long as he knew the general information, he could basically use all kinds of methods to reach it. Unless it was a godly universe with powerful restrictions. His mind changed. Wang Feng immediately disappeared from the ancestral realm. Unknown planet. When Wang Feng arrived, he found that it was indeed as Carl said. This planet was very desolate. In fact, the moment he arrived, he had already sensed this universe. It was also extremely desolate. Carl didn't say anything. When Wang Feng appeared, Carl was sitting cross-legged on an orange-yellow mountain peak without a single blade of grass or tree. Seeing Wang Feng appear, Carl said respectfully, "This is the second fragment I found." As he spoke, he opened his palm. A fragment of willpower lay quietly in his hand. Wang Feng glanced at it. It was indeed a fragment of the galaxy willpower. Immediately after, Wang Feng's eyes flickered and locked onto Carl. At this moment, the primordial willpower enveloped him. In the blink of an eye. Thus, he deduced everything that happened to the latter. Everything was true. Although Carl was already very advanced, he wasn't a universal-level life form. With the current power of the primordial origin, Wang Feng could understand it with a glance. There was no error at all. Unless there was an existence like the Supreme God in the godly universe to cover up his life path. Simply put, it was to obscure the universe karma contained in the other party. However, this was obviously impossible. Where is the location of the second fragment? Wang Feng asked. 10,000 Dragons Universe, Carl said. Oh! Wang Feng was slightly startled. It's actually here. You know about the 10,000 Dragons Universe? Carl asked. Wang Feng nodded slightly. This emotience was interesting. Where is the location of the third fragment? Wang Feng asked again. In the Crimson God Universe, Carl said again. Crimson God Universe, wasn't this the universe where the Crimson God Fox Emperor was? The universe ruled by the Crimson God Fox. Then let's go to the 10,000 Dragons Universe first. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes. Emotience seemed to be up to no good. 10,000 Dragons Universe. It was different from the God System Universe. Of course, it couldn't be compared to the Godly System Universe. However, this universe was ruled by the dragon race. Just like the Crimson God Fox Emperor, in the words of the Godly System Universe, they belonged to the category of indigenous gods. However, the 10,000 Dragons universe was clearly much stronger than the universes ruled by the indigenous heaven gods. This could be seen from the appearance of the five-colored divine dragon that had descended upon the dragon god realm. The five-colored divine dragon was a heavenly god-level existence. Moreover, it possessed the true will of the universe. He was extremely powerful. Wang Feng estimated that the ruler of the 10,000 Dragons universe was at least at the overgod level. In other words, the overall strength of the 10,000 Dragons universe was equivalent to a faction of gods in a godly system universe. It was not difficult to reach the 10,000 Dragons universe. When the five-colored divine dragon had appeared and he had fled, he had already exposed the coordinates of the 10,000 Dragons cosmos. Wang Feng used the Grand Mist origin source to deduce the coordinates and easily analyze them. You can stay here and continue studying the second fragment. Wang Feng said to Carl, if you can still research it and control the power within it, it'll be considered an opportunity for you. Of course, let me remind you, the probability of that is very low. Wang Feng left after he finished speaking. Then, Wang Feng quickly calculated the location of the 10,000 Dragons universe. No, more accurately, he calculated the location where the five-colored divine dragon had left. If I go directly, The location where I descend will be where the five-colored divine dragon returned. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. If he went directly, he might have to face many experts of the 10,000 Dragons universe. Forget it, it's just the dragon race. A cold glint flashed across Wang Feng's eyes. Wang Feng was basically certain about the fragments that Carl had obtained. They were left behind by Mo Tiance. His motive was very simple. Mo Tiance knew that his avatar had been killed by Wang Feng. At the same time, he must know that Wang Feng had the fragments. The reason he left behind the fragments of will in his main body was so that he could search for these fragments. His motive was to kill with a borrowed knife. However, Wang Feng gave the fragments to Carl for a second reason. In fact, he wanted to use Carl as bait to lure Mo Tiance out. If the fragments were with Wang Feng, Mo Tiance would not dare to act rashly. Once Wang Feng noticed it, his outcome would be miserable. However, this guy was very smart. He knew that after the fragments were with Carl, he might have known that Wang Feng wanted to use Carl as bait to lure him out. Therefore, he beat Wang Feng at his own game and immediately arranged the remaining fragments to lure Wang Feng out. Otherwise, when Wang Feng used the primordial origin to deduce the fragments, he did not obtain any information about the remaining fragments. Instead, he gave them to Carl and Carl studied them. These were obviously the fragments that Mo Tiance arranged later. You place the fragments in the 10,000 Dragons universe. It seems like you want to borrow the power of the 10,000 Dragons universe, Wang Feng sneered. This guy did not belong to the deity universe's faction. Although he was a universe-level life form, he was at most a native heavenly god. It was impossible for him to borrow the power of the deity universe. The deity universe looked down on native heavenly god. How could they be used by a mere Mo Tiance? Even the weakest deity universe's faction would not accept them. Therefore, he could only borrow the power of other universes. From a certain perspective, this 10,000 Dragons universe was indeed a very good target to borrow from. The fragments are very powerful. Moreover, the galaxy will itself is very powerful. This thing is very attractive to any universe-level life form. Even if it is just a fragment, the deity universe might not be interested in the fragment. However, to the 10,000 Dragons universe, it is valuable enough. As long as I come to this 10,000 Dragons universe, the fragments will be able to detect me. It is time to get rid of you, Wang Feng murmured. He came to the dragon god realm, where the five-colored divine dragon left. Then, he drew a line across the void. In an instant, a light hole appeared in the sky. Vaguely, he could feel an intense and majestic aura from the light hole. Without any hesitation, Wang Feng stepped into the cave, turned into a ray of light, and disappeared into the cave of light. Chapter 1892. The 10,000 Dragons universe. The starry sky was like a piece of cloth. Many shining star sources floated in this vast space like pearls. The resplendent golden color was the only key here. This was the Golden Nebula, one of the five-colored dragon systems in the 10,000 Dragons universe. A five-colored golden dragon, whose head could not be seen, floated quietly in this nebula. Beside him were several majestic men and women with dragon horns on their heads. Longing, is it as you said? Is this native heavenly god really that powerful? Among the men and women, a man with the calmest temperament and slightly older appearance asked slowly. The five-colored golden dragon immediately let out a soft dragon roar. Although his body was huge, he seemed to have suffered significant injuries. He couldn't even transform into a simple human form. However, the latter could tell what the dragon was trying to say from this dragon roar. He's stronger than I imagined. Dragon Master, that native heavenly god is so powerful. What god system universe and the God War agreement? We didn't want to provoke him and cause trouble. Let's just give up on the dragon god realm. Beside the man called Dragon Lord, a woman with a clear face and purple dragon horns on her head said slowly. Longing dealt with it in a timely manner, Dragon Master said indifferently. He wanted to destroy the dragon god realm. Unfortunately, that native heavenly god hadn't arrived yet. Longing seemed to be dealing with that native heavenly god's subordinate. That's why he provoked him. Although he dealt with it in a timely manner, he still provoked him. However, that native heavenly god should be busy with the god war right now. It's unlikely that he'll come into contact with our 10,000 Dragons universe. Even if he wants to cause trouble, he should wait until after the god war. The Dragon Master of the 5-colored dragon system, one of the many experts in the 10,000 Dragons universe, exhaled slowly. After the god war, he'll either die or we won't have anything to do with it. If he wins, although the possibility isn't high, we'll find an opportunity to apologize in person. After saying that, Dragon Master paused and asked the man beside him, "What did the Emperor Lord say?" "The Emperor Lord said that we can deal with it however we want." Dragon Master nodded slightly. "That's true. The Emperor Lord seems to be busy with the remnant will and our princess. He probably doesn't have time to deal with the Dragon God realm. Even though the Golden Dragon King has a weak bloodline of the Emperor, it's still not enough. But in the 10,000 Dragons universe, there are too many dragons with imperial bloodlines. Even the Golden Dragon King isn't one of them. Moreover, he had only sensed the 10,000 dragons cosmos after so many years. His strength was too weak. I didn't expect that the Emperor Lord would give him a 10,000 dragon pearl. The 10,000 dragons pearl is such a precious item. Even among the dragon descendants of the Emperor Lord, there aren't many who have such an honor. The 5-colored dragon lord shook his head slightly. It's possible. After all, he is the Emperor Lord's bloodline descendant when he was young. That's true. The Monarch Lord was a playboy when he was young. I wonder how many bloodlines he left behind. It's a pity that there's only one who can truly inherit the Monarch Lord's bloodline. Oh right, how's that Princess Silvermoon? The 5-colored dragon lord suddenly asked as his heart skipped a beat. The Sovereign Lord is very fond of her. It seems like not only is her bloodline pure, but she also has great potential. The Sovereign Lord is personally nurturing her. In the Candle God Nebula, he was already the Emperor Lord's successor. However, she is still young and there are a few dragons who have different opinions. I'm afraid this Princess Silver Moon won't be able to survive. The Dragon Lord couldn't help but sneer. The Sovereign Lord's lifespan is about to end. He is about to face the 100th initial wheel tribulation. Those old things naturally think that the Sovereign Lord won't be able to pass it. What's laughable is that if the Sovereign Lord dies, the 10,000 Dragons universe will become the 10,000 Dragons universe. The 10,000 Dragons universe has lost the only person who can challenge the Godly System universe, and the entire universe will be swallowed by the Godly System universe. Who knows, our 10,000 Dragons race might become the exclusive mounts of those dogs-hit gods in the future. At this time, they are still coveting the position of the Sovereign Lord and leading the 10,000 Dragons universe. What a joke. The 5-colored Dragon Lord waved his sleeves angrily. Countless nebulas were stirred up in the starry sky. Forget it. Longing, return to the true dragon pool and recuperate. You don't have to worry about that native heavenly god for the time being. The Dragon Lord said to the 5-colored golden dragon. Many thanks, Dragon Lord. After saying that, the Dragon Lord turned into a ray of colorful light and disappeared from this place with the few people beside him. The true dragon pool. I didn't expect to make a trip to the dragon god realm. Although I was injured, it's not bad to be able to recuperate in the true dragon pool. The 5-colored golden dragon called Long Ing gradually shrank. Before, it was difficult to measure his head and tail, but now, he was only a few hundred meters long. He first wandered in the starry sky for a while. Amen. Even if that native heavenly god really wants to shine here, it should be after the god battle. After saying that, he leisurely left and flew toward a huge star in the distance. after an unknown period of time. It was as if a hole had been poked in the starry sky. A hole of light slowly appeared. A figure slowly walked out of it. This is the 10,000 Dragons universe? The starry sky is very beautiful. The figure was naturally Wang Feng. There is no killing intent. Did those dragons not expect me to come? Wang Feng looked at the quiet surroundings and was a little surprised. He was prepared for a big battle. He thought that the 5-colored divine dragon would place a large number of dragons in the 10,000 Dragons universe where he left. This was to prevent him, a native heavenly god, from following. He's looking down on me. Wang Feng could not help but shake his head with a smile. It's so quiet. It's hard for me to make a move. If there were dragons preparing to deal with him, Wang Feng would not hesitate to capture a few of them to find out more about the 10,000 Dragons universe. If there was no dragon, he would have to find one himself. There's a star not far away, and it's a planet of life. There should be dragons there, right? Let's go take a look. Wang Feng was thinking. Suddenly, his heart stirred. In the distance, several figures suddenly flew over. It's humans. No, it's dragons. They've just transformed into humans. And there seems to be a luxurious carriage. Wang Feng looked into the distance. In the starry sky in the distance. First, several figures cleared the way. There were a total of 4 figures. Each of them was wearing a sky-blue robe embroidered with clouds and dragons. Their faces were very cold and threatening. Each of them had a dragon horn on their head. This was clearly the symbol of a dragon's transformation. Interestingly, the 4 of them were standing on the head of a huge water-blue 5-clawed dragon. Behind these 4 dragons was an extremely luxurious dragon carriage. They looked quite extraordinary. They should be dragons of high status. Wait, the aura of the Great Path. There's the aura of the Great Path in your carriage? Wang Fengxin's heart stirred again. Chapter 1893. The creation jade disc could sense the power of the great Tao. However, Wang Feng did not expect to encounter it as soon as he arrived at the 10,000 Dragons universe. Should I attack directly, or? Wang Feng pondered for a moment. He had just arrived and did not know anything about the 10,000 Dragons universe. Although he could obtain the power of the great Tao from the dragon chariot, he would definitely alarm the 10,000 Dragons universe. The strongest person in the 10,000 Dragons universe, the mystic dragon emperor, was at least a supreme god. Now that he had just arrived, the 5-colored divine dragon did not seem to expect him to appear. In other words, the 10,000 Dragons universe did not know he was here. Attacking directly is like killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. The power of the great Tao in the dragon chariot is only a small part. There must be more power of the great Tao in the 10,000 Dragons universe. Wang Feng calmed himself down. There is no hurry. Emotiance has not been found yet, and there is still that intent fragment. There is no hurry. Thinking of this, Wang Fengxin's heart stirred. His fingertips moved slightly, and he gently tapped his forehead. In an instant, 2 golden dragon horns appeared on his forehead. The aura of the dragon race slowly spread from Wang Feng's body. His appearance was not much different from those dragonians. I cannot let go of the power of the great Tao in the dragon chariot. Wang Fengxin's heart stirred again. His face began to turn pale and weak, and wounds began to appear on his body. Then, he quietly floated in the starry sky. His body began to gradually transform into a gigantic dragon form. His body was formed by the will of the heavenly embryo. Wang Feng's transformation was based on the dragons of the primitive universe recorded in the Bell of Primal Chaos. It was not difficult. He had the genetic secrets of the dragon race. Although this was only one of his clones, all 3 bodies were him. There was no difference. With the genetic secrets of the primitive universe's dragon race, Wang Feng could not only create the dragon race, but he could also transform into the dragon race. He could even have the various abilities and talents of the dragon race. For example, the 4 divine dragons that Wang Feng had created. As long as Wang Feng wanted, he could have their abilities. Stop! At this moment, the 4 silhouettes on the 4 enormous water dragons abruptly shouted at the enormous dragons beneath them to pull them away. A moment later, a clear voice came from the dragon chariot. Why did you stop? Your Highness, we have reached the boundary of the 5-colored nebula. In front of us should be one of the 5-colored nebula's subordinate planets, planet Golden Dragon. However, there seems to be an injured dragon in front of us. Should we interfere? A man on the head of the water dragon asked respectfully. Injured? How could there be an injured dragon in the eternal Golden Dragon star? Given the 5-colored Dragon Master's character, he normally loves his people the most. The dragon chariot remained silent for a while, appearing somewhat confused. I've heard from the Emperor Lord. It seemed that something had happened in the dragon god realm of the Golden Dragon King, who had been reunited with the Emperor Master in the Myriad Dragons universe. It just so happened that the Emperor Lord had tasked the 5-colored Dragon Master with the task of observing the Dragon God realm. For some unknown reason, the Dragon God realm provoked a native heavenly god. A native heavenly god? The dragon carriage was slightly startled. Then, a chuckle sounded. Then this 5-colored Dragon Lord is really pitiful. This wouldn't be easy to deal with, right? However, ordinary native heavenly gods shouldn't be able to provoke the 10,000 dragons universe. That's true. But the native heavenly god they provoked isn't ordinary, right? Tell me about the rumors you've heard. This subordinate heard that the native heavenly god they provoked was the one who issued a holy letter of challenge to the god system's universe. It's very chaotic over there. I think the 5-colored Dragon Master is having a headache right now. Now that there are injured dragons in the starry sky, I think that native heavenly god might have already come to us. Stop, stop, stop. The voice from the dragon carriage was still chuckling. Look at this starry sky. Do you see any energy fluctuations? How many changes have there been in the eternal Golden Dragon star? I don't think so. Then that's it. What you said is just a guess. The Dragon God realm provoked that native heavenly god. Given the 5-colored Dragon Master's character, he most likely abandoned the Dragon God realm. That native heavenly god wouldn't have the time to come to the 10,000 dragons universe to cause trouble. The god war of the god system's universe is very important. That native heavenly god might be busy dealing with the god war right now. Why would he come to us? This injured dragon is quite strange. Hearing this, the dragon man paused for a moment. Does your highness mean that there's a trap? But I didn't sense anything. Even with your strength, you didn't sense anything. It seems that if this dragon isn't really injured, then he's not simple. The voice from the dragon carriage pondered for a moment. Go ahead and test him. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be many dragons who know about my trip. Even the 5-colored Dragon Master shouldn't know. Then this subordinate will test it out. After receiving the order, the dragon man immediately urged the giant dragon under his feet to fly toward the dragon that didn't look very big. Yunhua, don't go too far. A voice came from the dragon carriage. The dragon man nodded slightly. It's the aura of my race. As soon as he got close, the water-blue 5-clawed giant dragon under his feet spoke in a low voice. Little Blue, are you sure you sensed it? Long Yunhua immediately asked. Nonsense. Your strength is on par with mine. If I can sense it, can't you sense it yourself? Moreover, it's rare to see such a pure dragon aura, the water-blue giant dragon replied unhappily. Long Yunhua closed his eyes and sensed for a few seconds. They were dragon companions and had the same position. Their strength was indeed similar. The aura he sensed was also very pure dragon aura. The injuries on his body should be caused by some kind of origin energy. Moreover, it's a very powerful origin energy. Our dragon race's usual medicines have no effect on it. With such serious injuries, he's still alive. It seems that this dragon is very powerful, the water blue giant dragon said. However, I can't sense which part of our 10,000 dragons universe he belongs to. Although there's a very pure dragon aura on him, he obviously doesn't belong to any of our branches. How do you plan to test him? Just attack him directly. If there's a trap, he'll definitely counterattack. If there's no trap, his dragon body won't care about these injuries, Long Yunhua said. The injuries on his body should be caused by some kind of origin energy. Moreover, it's a very powerful origin energy. Our dragon race's usual medicines have no effect on it. With such serious injuries, he's still alive. It seems that this dragon is very powerful, the water blue giant said. However, I can't sense which part of our 10,000 dragons universe he belongs to. Although there's a very pure dragon aura on him, he obviously doesn't belong to any of our branches. How do you plan to test him? Just attack him directly. If there's a trap, he'll definitely counterattack. If there's no trap, his dragon body won't care about these injuries, Long Yunhua said. Chapter 1894. As a noble crystal dragon in the 10,000 dragons universe, although his physical body was not his forte. However, Long Yunhua did not expect that his half-full attack would be easily deflected by an injured and mysterious dragon. Even his weapon had been shattered. One had to know that this dragon spear was forged from the 10,000 dragons universe's most powerful origin, true gold. It was made from his dragon heart and dragon blood that had been nourished for hundreds of years. Why the F***ck did it just break? What kind of dragon's physical body is this? Long Huayun was shocked. The other party did not react at all when he was injured. It was obvious that he only relied on his physical body. It doesn't seem like there's a trick. This dragon might be very powerful. At the very least, he should be at the level of a clan leader. However, I know of the few dragon lords in the 10,000 dragons cosmos. Long Huayun knew that he could not make a judgment. He could only return to the dragon carriage and report this matter immediately. Your Highness, this dragon is currently unconscious. Just his physical body alone is so powerful, Long Huayun immediately said after reporting. In our 10,000 dragons universe, there are no records of his physical body. I don't know. The dragon carriage was silent for a long time. Then, a clear and pleasant voice slowly sounded. He should be a descendant of the dragon ancestor. When the 10,000 dragons universe was born, the dragon ancestor's bloodline spread throughout the universe. Countless origin energy accompanied this bloodline and scattered all over the 10,000 dragons universe. But after a few generations, these powerful dragon ancestors with the dragon ancestor's bloodline died in battle. Only a few survived and opened the 10,000 dragons universe's glorious era. At the same time, on the bloodline bestowed by the dragon ancestor, through various methods, many more powerful dragon clans were born. However, there were fewer and fewer dragon clans with the dragon ancestor's bloodline. The Emperor Lord was a true dragon with 70% of the dragon ancestor's bloodline. He slowly cultivated. After that, the bloodline changed, and the power changed. The dragon ancestor's bloodline gradually disappeared. The 10,000 dragons universe opened up the dragon origin gene and began to strengthen the existing bloodline through various methods. At this point, the owner of the voice seemed to realize that he seemed to have said too much. So, this dragon is a descendant of the dragon ancestor's bloodline? Long Yunhua confirmed with astonishment. From what you've encountered, that's the case. Those who possess the bloodline of the dragon ancestor possess an innately powerful physical body. Even the king of the Golden Dragon Clan in the Seven-Colored Dragon Clan, the Golden Brilliance True Dragon, has yet to reach that level. Moreover, the Golden Brilliance True Dragon itself needs a powerful dragon origin to evolve to its strongest state. At the same time, I changed it to dragon scales made of 7-colored astral essence. Only then would I be able to shatter your dragon spear. Long Yunhua suddenly understood. Let's save him first. Within the dragon carriage, the voice rang out once more. Bring this dragon into the world of my dragon carriage. I will take a closer look. Continue forward. When you pass by the golden dragon eternal star, there is no need to mention this to the seven-colored dragon lord. Long Yunhua immediately nodded. Then, together with another dragon, they lifted the enormous dragon into the enormous dragon carriage. Behind this dragon carriage, it wasn't like an ordinary carriage. It was a rather vast small world. The carriage they were pulling was nothing more than an object to cover this small world. Wang Feng had been awake the entire time. He had disguised himself so that he could enter the dragon carriage and sense the power of the great Tao without alerting the 10,000 dragons universe. In order to enter the dragon carriage safely, he had used his normal body to shatter the weapon of the dragon that had come to test him. After all, if he didn't show any special traits, the other party might not be interested in him, let alone save him. However, Wang Feng didn't expect to hear some interesting information, because he had been awake the entire time. He could clearly sense the communication between them. It was just an ordinary mental communication using dragon voices. To Wang Feng, it was very simple. He could use the primordial origin to decipher it. Dragon ancestor? This 10,000 dragons universe was created by a dragon ancestor? What's up with this dragon ancestor? Wang Fengxin muttered to himself. Previously, he had seen the dragons in the dragon god realm who had been strengthened by the 10,000 dragons pearl and that 5-colored divine dragon. Wang Feng had thought that this 10,000 dragons universe and the dragons of the primitive universe should have a very close relationship. But this 10,000 dragons universe was created by a dragon ancestor? However, back then, when the primitive universe was destroyed, it was impossible for any life to survive. The only one who survived was the Origin Tribulation Divine King. This dragon ancestor. Forget it, let's not care about that for now. Let's first sense the power of the great Tao. Wang Feng shook his head secretly. According to what he had heard, that dragon ancestor was long gone. So, there was no need to care too much. The power of the great Tao was the purpose of his trip to the 10,000 dragons universe. After entering the dragon carriage, Wang Feng didn't expect that there would be a small world inside. These 4 dragons were dragging a small world in the starry sky. Fortunately, after entering the dragon carriage, Wang Feng accurately sensed the location of the power of the great Tao. There was more than one. There were 2. One of them was in the dragon carriage, on the owner of the voice. Soon, Wang Feng felt a cool aura slowly coming from the top of his head. It's the aura of the origin. This feeling seems to be somewhat similar to the Frozen End, one of the 4 true dragons of the primitive universe. Wang Feng immediately sensed it. To be precise, it wasn't a pure aura of the origin. It seemed to be an ability formed after a half-incomplete origin merged with the dragon race's bloodline. This cool aura was like mist and dew, containing a very strong recovery ability. The dragon race in this dragon carriage world should have a very high status. It clearly has the aura of the great Tao. But it doesn't seem to have merged with it. Wang Feng followed this aura and slowly opened his eyes. What entered his eyes was a woman in an ice-blue fairy dress floating above his head. The woman had 2 short ice-blue dragon horns on her head. Her face was beautiful, and her figure was graceful. Her body looked like a human's. There wasn't much difference between her and a normal human female. However, her exposed palms were covered with a layer of faint ice-blue dragon scales. Her neck, which should have been snow-white, also had ice-blue dragon scales. But it didn't look strange. Instead, it had a strange beauty. I woke up just like that. Could it be that my strength has increased again? The dragoness muttered softly. She seemed to be surprised. Then, she nodded to herself. Looks like it's true, you are? Wang Feng's bewildering dragon eyes seemed to be drunk. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes as he let out a dragon roar. Starting from Douluo, address. Starting from Douluo, /read/105821/ starting from Dalu. Download address. Starting from Douluo to clock out. /read/105821/ for the convenience of reading next time, you can click on the Collect button below to record this time. You can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. If you like Starting from Douluo, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1895. Me. The dragon girl smiled and said indifferently, I am Jean Ling from the Crystal Dragon race of the 10,000 Dragons universe. I passed by this 7-colored nebula and happened to meet the injured you. In the 10,000 Dragons universe, I have never seen a dragon like you. Since you are awake, shouldn't you tell me who you are? My world is not too big. If you can transform into a human form, it won't be too late to talk to me after you transform into a human form. The dragon girl who called herself Jean Ling gently waved her sleeve and summoned a chair that seemed to be made of ice. Then, she sat on the chair with interest. She supported her chin with both hands and sized up Wang Feng. 10,000 Dragons universe? Wang Feng suddenly said, I didn't expect that I would actually come here. Oh? Jean Ling put down one hand and knocked on the table as if she was listening attentively. I came from another universe, Wang Feng said casually. In that universe, although the dragon race is strong, in that vast universe, they are only one of the billions of living beings. Although they are strong, they are not the best. In addition to the dragon race, there are countless other powerful races that fought together in that universe. The casualties were disastrous. When the universe calamity came, countless living beings died. The powerful dragon race was born as slaves under the cycle of reincarnation. The order of the universe was reconstructed. The heavenly dragon race could only be enslaved as livestock. Wang Feng's eyes were deep, with some vicissitudes and loneliness. His low voice seemed to be telling the ancient and unbearable past. In fact, he was talking about the history of the dragon race in the desolate universe. In the primal chaos, the pictures of billions of living beings were recorded, which also represented a part of the history. However, the history that Wang Feng deduced from the primordial chaos source might not necessarily be true. But the general situation would not change. The primitive universe was quite different from the myths and legends that Wang Feng had heard of on Earth. There might even be a big difference. Jean Ling did not say anything. She just stared at Wang Feng's eyes. Suddenly, she turned her head. After a while, she turned back and nodded slightly. The 10,000 Dragons universe is a universe dominated by my dragon race. There are countless powerful dragon race here. You seem to have heard of this universe. How did it come about? She didn't directly express that she believed Wang Feng's words, but she didn't say that she didn't believe him either. I've also forgotten, Wang Feng said. The reconstructed order of the cosmos caused our dragon race to fall apart. The powerful dragon race were either slaughtered, enslaved, or died in the Aeon calamity for the sake of protecting the dragon race. As for us, the dragon race that was struggling at death's door, we were unable to endure the new order of the cosmos and left this cosmos. After that, we entered the endless cosmos to wander about. Until one time, I met a fellow clansman in an unknown part of the starry sky. He told me there was a universe called the 10,000 Dragons universe, which was the universe of the dragon race. He told me to go to the 10,000 Dragons cosmos. However, I couldn't find him even after searching for a very long time. Later on, I met an expert. Unable to defeat his opponent, he executed an origin forbidden technique and burned his true blood to escape. After I woke up, this is the time, Wang Feng said simply. What he had said earlier were all stories that he had deduced. It was impossible for the other party to determine whether it was true or false. Naturally, the rest of the story was made up as well. It would be difficult for the other party to tell. The 10,000 dragons cosmos was so huge, and there were many dragons. There were also many dragons who had run to other universes. The other party couldn't tell at all. Is that so? Jean Ling pondered for a moment and suddenly asked, "The fellow clansman you met is a dragon from our 10,000 dragons cosmos? Is he very powerful?" "He's stronger than me. I chatted with him for some time, but we didn't know each other well. Later on, he had something to do and left. He only told me the coordinates of the 10,000 dragons cosmos." After Wang Feng finished speaking, he added, "Isn't he a dragon from your 10,000 dragons cosmos?" "Oh right, he claimed to be a descendant of the dragon ancestor, and said that he was looking for information about the dragon race in other universes." "A descendant of the dragon ancestor?" Jean Ling frowned slightly. She glanced at Wang Feng. There were many descendants of the dragon ancestor who had established the 10,000 dragons cosmos. However, that was many years ago. It was impossible to estimate where the descendants of the dragon ancestor had gone. There were no records of them at all. The only ones recorded were the few emperors who had created the 10,000 dragons universe and made great contributions to the 10,000 dragons universe. Not to mention her. Even if the mystic dragon emperor was here, it would be difficult to determine. The strength of the dragon race is mysterious. What he said might not be false, but I'm afraid it's not completely true. Jean Ling thought. That was normal. He had come to an unfamiliar universe and was seriously injured. How could he casually tell others about his origin? "Then what do you plan to do next?" Jean Ling said slowly. "Our 10,000 dragons cosmos is a world dominated by the dragon race. If you want to live peacefully in this universe, it's very simple. However, your bloodline doesn't belong to any of the dragon races. Those powerful dragon races might not take you in. However, the 10,000 dragons cosmos is currently dominated by the 10,000 dragons emperor. The current emperor is a wise ruler of the dragon race. Even if you have the identity of an ordinary dragon race member, you can still live peacefully in this universe. There will definitely be unfairness. However, it's usually difficult to encounter it in an ordinary life." Jean Ling smiled slightly and looked at him. "The emperor is tyrannical?" Wang Feng thought, "I thought it was a god tyrannical." It seemed that the mystic dragon emperor of this 10,000 dragons cosmos should be the strongest expert. In terms of strength, he should belong to the supreme god of the divine system cosmos. Of course, in this vast 10,000 dragons cosmos there might be other experts. After all, the dragon ancestor should not be a simple person. Wang Feng pondered for a moment and suddenly looked at Jean Ling. He looked at the latter until she frowned slightly. Then, he slowly said, "I sense a very unique power aura on your body. I wonder what it is?" He said it in a flat tone. However, the latter was shocked. "A unique power aura." Jean Ling was slightly stunned. "You can sense it?" "No, can you sense what kind of power aura it is?" "A very strong power aura. It seems to be able to easily change the life form of the dragon race," Wang Feng said slowly. "I also had such a powerful power in our universe. However, the one on your body is weaker." Hearing this, Jean Ling stood up from her seat. "You can actually sense it?" She looked at Wang Feng in disbelief. Her first reaction was that it was impossible. She had been absorbing the power of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl for more than 100 years. The 10,000 Dragons Pearl had already merged with her dragon origin. The power in it had almost completely transferred to her body. However, she was currently unable to control that power. It was still hidden and sealed in the dragon origin in her body. Even those dragon sovereigns could not sense it. Even when she met the Emperor could not sense it. How did he sense it? Chapter 1896. Jean Ling looked at this mysterious dragon in amazement. The 10,000 Dragons Pearl was extremely unique in the entire 10,000 Dragons universe. Its origin could no longer be traced. However, the 10,000 Dragons universe had many 10,000 Dragons Pearls. The 10,000 Dragons Pearl contained extremely powerful energy. How powerful was it exactly? Almost all the dragon race experts in the 10,000 Dragons universe had the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. Those who did not had it. Very few could stand at the peak of the 10,000 Dragons universe. The more 10,000 Dragons Pearls one had, the stronger one would be. However, the special thing about the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was that no matter how many one had, if one could not comprehend the power contained within it, it would be useless. It was extremely mysterious. However, if one could comprehend the profundity within, they would definitely become a powerful expert. At least, this was the rule in the 10,000 Dragons universe. Therefore, the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was naturally very precious. Unless one was as powerful as the mystic Dragon Emperor, once other dragons obtained the 10,000 Dragons Pearl, they would not easily tell others. At the same time, they would hide the 10,000 Dragons Pearl and slowly comprehend its profundity. In the 10,000 Dragons universe, this item was too precious and would be coveted easily. Jean Ling did not expect that the 10,000 Dragons Pearl in her body would be exposed just like that. This guy is not simple, Jean Ling pondered for a few seconds. At this moment, Wang Feng said, "Is this the power that the 10,000 Dragons universe relies on?" "Not entirely," Jean Ling said indifferently. She could have pretended not to know that she had been discovered. However, this was too special. She could not react for a moment. It was too late to pretend not to know. Therefore, she might as well admit it. "Then, is there a lot?" Wang Feng asked again. "I did not sense the aura of this power from the dragons outside." Jean Ling smiled faintly. "Not a lot, not a little. By the way, you did not answer my question. How did you sense this power?" After saying that, she looked straight at Wang Feng. Wang Feng could sense a murderous intent hidden deep within the eyes of this female dragon race being. His heart skipped a beat. As expected, the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was also a treasure in the 10,000 Dragons universe. Wang Feng was not sure if each 10,000 Dragons Pearl contained the great Tao power of the creation Jade Disc. If that was the case, then the Myriad Dragon Pearl was indeed a first-rate treasure. The power of the great Tao in the good fortune Jade Disc was the great Tao that countless lives in the universe yearned for. That was the origin of the universe at that time. It contained endless mysteries and great power. That's because there's also that sort of power in our universe. Wang Feng's expression remained unchanged as he said calmly, "As for me, I've come into contact with this kind of power before, so I'm no stranger to it. I can sense it within a certain distance. This sort of power is extremely unique. Even if it is hidden, it is impossible to completely conceal the aura within it." Jean Ling's expression changed slightly, and she looked at him strangely. She was certain that the Dragon Clan did not exist in the 10,000 Dragons universe. Even someone as powerful as the mystic Dragon Emperor could not sense the power of the 10,000 Dragon Pearl. However, the mystic Dragon Emperor did have many 10,000 Dragon Pearls. Otherwise, the Emperor wouldn't have given the Dragon God Realm's Golden Dragon King a Myriad Dragon Pearl when he came to the Myriad Dragons universe to acknowledge his ancestors. However, the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was also divided into many different grades. Naturally, the mystic Dragon Emperor didn't give it the best. The origin of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was unknown, but its grades were clearly divided in the entire 10,000 Dragons universe. The worst grade only contained the power of dragonization in the form of a thin thread. This was because the powerful energy within the 10,000 Dragons Pearl could cause a dragon to undergo earth-shaking changes and reach a higher realm. Therefore, this kind of power was called dragonization in the 10,000 Dragons universe. A slightly better grade contained the power of dragonization in the form of a thin mist. A slightly better grade was the power of dragonization in the form of a dewdrop. All the way up, it contained the strongest power. Currently, the strongest 10,000 Dragons Pearl was the Mystic Dragon Divine Pearl. It was rumored that it contained the power of dragonization in the form of a pool. It was also because of this 10,000 Dragons Divine Pearl that the current Mystic Dragon Emperor existed. From what you're saying, Jin Ling's eyes flashed. Not only can you sense this 10,000 Dragons Pearl, but you also seem to understand this power very well? Of course I do. Wang Feng narrowed his eyes. Not only do I understand it, but I can also ignite this power. Since you saved my life in return, I can ignite this power in your body. In our universe, this power is the power of the universe's great Tao. It contains a powerful force that can create the universe. However, this power is not something that anyone can use. It's dormant and needs to be touched by external forces to be fully activated. Otherwise, it's just an inanimate object. It's useless even if you obtain it. Jin Ling smiled noncommittally. She would not believe such words. This power is called the 10,000 Dragons Pearl in our universe, Jin Ling said slowly. It might not be a power that you're familiar with. There's no hurry now. How about this? We're going to a ruin to look for this 10,000 Dragons Pearl. What do you plan to do next? If you don't, can you come with me? Let me see if you really understand this power. Ruin? Wang Feng was slightly taken aback. Looking for the 10,000 Dragons Pearl? That's great, Wang Fengxin said. At this moment, the carriage outside suddenly stopped. Wang Feng instantly sensed that there were dozens of huge dragons surrounding the chariot. So it's niece Jin Ling of the Crystal Dragon race. You're free to come to my 7-color nebula today? Why didn't you come down and stay for a few days when you passed by this golden eternal dragon star? If your father knew about this, he would definitely be angry. Those who don't know might think that us old fellows are bullying you juniors. A hearty voice came from outside. Inside the carriage, Jin Ling's expression changed slightly. Wang Feng could clearly feel that this dragon girl seemed to be in some kind of trouble. There's also a dragon outside? Wang Feng asked. Is it someone from your race? From your tone, your relationship is not bad? Looking at her, how could their relationship be not bad? Wang Feng deliberately asked this because he wanted to see how this dragon girl would deal with it. Jin Ling chuckled but did not say anything. In this 10,000 dragons universe, the relationship between the various dragon races was unified and harmonious from the perspective of the entire universe. However, that was in the external situation. Internally, that was not the case. There were many dragons in the 10,000 dragons universe, and each of them had different personalities. This also caused the various dragon races to fight against each other. The 7-colored dragon race was one of the largest races in the 10,000 dragons universe. Chapter 1897. The reason? Naturally, it was because the 7-colored dragon clan had 7 different 10,000 dragon pearls. 7 7-colored dragon clans were born from the same root. Unlike the other dragon clans, the 7-colored dragon clans, 7 great dragon clans, were very united because of the same root. The 7-colored dragon lord was very powerful. Apart from the 7 10,000 dragon pearls that affected the 7-colored dragon lord's foundation, the 7-colored dragon lord had 3 other 10,000 dragon pearls. Whether it was status or strength, the 7-colored dragon clan was top-notch in the entire 10,000 dragons universe. On the other hand, the Crystal Dragon clan was a small clan. However, due to the unique genes of the Crystal Dragon clan, the dragons they produced were all naturally beautiful and had special physique. They were the partners of countless dragon clans. Most importantly, the Mystic Dragon Emperor had a very favored dragon concubine. She was a crystal dragon. Therefore, even though the Crystal Dragon clan was a small clan, their status was very special. The current dragon lord of the Crystal Dragon clan was the elder brother of that dragon concubine, the brother-in-law of the mystic dragon emperor. Even though he was not very strong, his status was there. Ordinary dragon clans would naturally not dare to provoke him. However, it was hard to say for the seven-colored dragon clan. "You stay here," Jinling said indifferently. "You don't have to go out. If you go out, you will definitely attract unnecessary trouble." "We are both dragons. That won't be necessary, right?" Wang Feng asked. "You don't know the rules of our 10,000 Dragons universe." Jinling shook her head slightly. "If you were an ordinary dragon, you could indeed live happily in the 10,000 Dragons universe for the rest of your life. However, you have a special background. In addition, you can sense the 10,000 dragon pearls. Therefore, it is very difficult for you to be ordinary. If you don't want trouble, I suggest that you don't go out." At this point, Jinling paused. "Of course, if you want to go out, I will not stop you." After saying this, she gently pulled open a curtain from the void. Then, she stepped out and disappeared from the void. Wang Feng sat in the void. Ruins. Judging by the situation of the 10,000 dragon pearls, they are still not in the 10,000 dragons universe? Wang Feng muttered. The bloodline aura of the Crystal Dragon clan is somewhat similar to that of the Frozen End clan. This Thousand Dragons universe, it seems that it is not so simple. Wang Feng suddenly, the ancient dragon universe was. He might have inadvertently obtained the key to the disappearance of this civilization that was once invincible in the universe. Then, he slowly opened one of the doors. "There are a lot of 10,000 dragon pearls." From what he said, this crystal dragon is extremely vigilant. "He's not simple." Wang Feng closed his eyes. During the conversation, the latter did not say much. However, Wang Feng still roughly understood the situation. However, as for strength, this crystal dragon was clearly not strong enough. Not to mention universe-level life forms, heavenly gods of the godly system universe, and false gods. Jinling's strength was at most on par with the Yama Lord that Yan Qingjue had transformed into in the Dark Devil realm. And this was because the Crystal Dragon clan itself had a bit of the Frozen End bloodline. Otherwise, given that she didn't even have an origin source, her strength would be even lower. Interesting, in the 10,000 Dragons universe, only the Mystic Dragon Emperor is a threat to me. Wang Feng thought for a while. As for the rest, relatively speaking, it should not be a big problem. However, Wang Feng did not expect the 10,000 Dragons Pearl to be so mysterious in the 10,000 Dragons universe. While he was thinking, suddenly Jinling, who had left for a few seconds, returned. Wang Feng opened his eyes and looked at Jinling in confusion. "You can sense the power of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl?" Jinling suddenly asked. Wang Feng nodded slightly. "Then, can you sense the 10,000 Dragons Pearl in the outside world?" Jinling asked indifferently. Although the inside of the carriage is an isolated small world, there are still 7 dragons in it. At this moment, there are dozens of 7-colored dragons outside. "Yes," Wang Feng said. "Oh." Jinling suddenly revealed a meaningful smile. "Can you tell me more about it?" Wang Feng pretended to close his eyes and then open them again to sense for a while. "There are a total of 4 strands," Wang Feng said. "Among them, 3 strands are concentrated on a dragon. It's not considered powerful. This dragon should have only comprehended less than half of it. With his aptitude, he might only be able to comprehend half of it. As for the other one, it's beside this dragon. It's well preserved and seems to be new." Wang Fengxin's heart skipped a beat. He actually also sensed the 5-colored divine dragon's aura. He roughly understood. "Are you sure?" Jinling asked again. Of course. Wang Feng knew what this dragon lady wanted to do. However, he had his own plans. In Wang Feng's opinion, these dragons could not fully comprehend the great Tao power within the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. At most, they could only comprehend a little and use this power to change their own bodies. If they wanted to obtain the great Tao power within and control it completely, it would be impossible without the creation jade disc. This was because the great Tao power originated from the creation jade disc. Since the creation jade disc had shattered, the great Tao power naturally fell silent. Normally speaking, it was very difficult to obtain. For example, the 10,000 Dragons Pearl in the Dragon God realm only needed to leak a little of its power to change the entire Dragon God realm. It greatly changed the life forms of those dragons. From this, one could imagine how powerful the power of the Great Path contained within was. All right. Jean Ling withdrew her smile and walked out. At this moment, outside, the seven-colored Dragon Master smiled as he looked at the dragon carriage. A moment later, Jean Ling appeared from the dragon carriage. Jean Ling greets Uncle Cain. Jean Ling smiled softly and said, "It has been a few years since we last met. Uncle, you have become stronger and stronger. Even the dragons following you have become stronger." "Ha ha. Niece, you must be joking." The seven-colored Dragon Master waved his hand and said magnanimously, "Your crystal race has received His Majesty's favor. You can't compare yourself to our 7 races. When I first met you a few years ago, you were only a 1,000-meter-long infant dragon. You should have obtained the 10,000 Dragons Pearl by now, right? Uncle can't see through your strength." The seven-colored Dragon Master shook his head in shame. "You're not like the younger generation of the seven-colored Dragon Master. Forget about obtaining the 10,000 Dragons Pearl, we don't even have the chance to look at it." "How can that be?" Jean Ling covered her mouth and laughed softly. "Doesn't this person beside you have a 10,000 Dragons Pearl? Question mark. The seven-colored Dragon Master's expression froze when he heard this. He looked at Jean Ling in shock and then looked at Long Yunhua beside him. Long Yunhua was stunned for a moment. Then, he shook his head slightly, indicating that he had never revealed anything. "Niece, you really know how to joke." The seven-colored Dragon Master's expression did not change. He smiled faintly and said, "Niece, how long do you plan to stay in the seven-colored nebula? Tell me a time so that I can send some of the dragon race's elites to protect you. Otherwise, it would be bad if you were to get injured in the seven-colored nebula." Jean Ling's expression changed. She knew it. The seven-colored Dragon Master had stopped her. It was not that simple. He wanted to keep an eye on her. She was passing by the seven-colored nebula in search of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. She was not trying to be secretive. Otherwise, she would not have traveled on a dragon chariot. However, the only person who knew her purpose was her father. After all, if she was too secretive, it would be easier for others to detect her. The seven-colored Dragon Master must have sensed something for him to stop her. Old fox. "Then, I won't trouble you, uncle." Jean Ling suddenly smiled and said, "You have 3 10,000 Dragons Pearls on you. You still have half of their power. I don't dare to trouble you at this time." She had just finished speaking. The seven-colored Dragon Master's expression did not change. However, his pupils suddenly shrank. Chapter 1898. Impossible. The seven-colored Dragon Lord Kai Yin's first reaction was that it was impossible. No one in the entire clan knew about the secret of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. This was related to one's own strength. How could other dragons know about it so easily? The seven-colored Dragon Lord did not even tell the dragons closest to him. How could she know that I've already comprehended half of the 3 10,000 Dragons Pearls? She's so accurate. The seven-colored Dragon Lord muttered to himself. The only one who knew about the progress of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was the mystic dragon Tharch. However, the Tharch was high and mighty. He would not participate in the actual fights between the various dragon clans in the 10,000 Dragons universe. He even encouraged them to fight among themselves. Moreover, one of the 10,000 Dragons Pearls was given to him by the Tharch. Given the Thearcha's status and power, how could he tell this dragon girl from the Crystal Dragon clan? In terms of relationship, Jean Ling was only a side relative of the Crystal Dragon clan. She could be considered the niece of the old Crystal Dragon king. The Crystal Dragon concubine was not related to Jean Ling at all. How could the situation of his 10,000 dragons pearl be leaked? The seven-colored dragon lord looked at Jean Ling, who was smiling calmly. It did not seem like she was guessing. Although this little girl Jean Ling is barely the niece of that old Crystal Dragon king, she is indeed the one with the most outstanding talent in the Crystal Dragon tribe. In the future, she should be able to climb up to the position of Dragon King of that dragon thing. Could it be that she has other factions guiding her from behind? The seven-colored dragon lord was secretly on guard. He sensed a dragon on the Golden Dragon planet. Usually it was just passing by. It was not a big deal. He only needed to report it at the Golden Dragon planet. However, it was different if it was Jean Ling. This girl was very famous in the Crystal Dragon clan. She was also seen as the successor of the old Crystal Dragon king. If she had suddenly come to the Golden Dragon planet for fun, it would be fine. His Golden Dragon planet was one of the few great planets in the seven-colored galaxy. A dragon could definitely play on it for a few years. However, the seven-colored dragon lord knew that with Jean Ling's character, she was definitely not here for fun. She must have a very important motive. Otherwise, she would not have passed by his Golden Dragon planet. He guessed that it was most likely related to the 10,000 dragons pearl. Therefore, just in case, he might as well use this as an excuse to trap her here. Then, he would use both hard and soft tactics to interrogate them. No matter what, he had to get a share of the loot. But now, with just a few words from Jean Ling, he was thrown into disarray. Even his aura was gradually being taken over by his opponent. "Niece, you're amazing," the seven-colored dragon lord said with a smile. "The last time I saw the old Dragon King was at the Coiling Dragon Grand meeting 100 years ago. However, Uncle never expected that niece would be so familiar with me," the seven-colored dragon lord. "Of course I have to be familiar with my friends," Jean Ling said with a smile that was neither servile nor overbearing. "However, only I, your niece, know about this matter. This golden eternal dragon star is the great star of the seven colors galaxy. Who knows how many dragons would spend their days on this golden eternal dragon star, indulging themselves in a drunken stupor. Niece, I have a shortcoming. When I go crazy, I get carried away easily. At that time, all kinds of nonsense might be leaked. Therefore, niece will not stay on Uncle Tsain's golden eternal dragon star. What do you think?" Hearing this, the seven-colored dragon lord smiled and said, "Since that's the case, that's fine too. There are many fun places in my seven colors nebula. If you want to play, you can tell these dragons at any time. With your uncle's orders, you can do whatever you want in the seven colors nebula." Jean Ling nodded slightly. "In that case, niece will thank uncle for his kind intentions. I'll take my leave first." With that, she walked back into the dragon carriage. She heaved a sigh of relief. Kain Dragon Lord's reputation for being cautious is well deserved. However, I didn't expect that fellow to be telling the truth. Jean Ling was even more shocked. She had said those words to intimidate the seven-colored dragon lord. However, she had not actually lowered her guard. However, she did not expect it to be true. The biggest secret of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was the seven-colored Dragon Lord's identity and status. After being exposed by her in an instant, the seven-colored Dragon Lord revealed a shocked expression and lost his composure for a moment. Even if it was only for a moment, it was still exposed. "When I was exposed by that fellow, I lost my composure even more." Jean Ling shook her head secretly. Speaking of which, the seven-colored Dragon Lord had actually comprehended more than half of the 3 Dragon Lord pearls. No wonder he was so powerful. Moreover, the person following him should be a prodigy of the seven-colored dragon tribe. However, the seven-colored Dragon Lord was really powerful. He could directly bestow the 10,000 Dragons Pearl to the younger generation of the Dragon Tribe prodigies. With Cyane's cautiousness, although she let me go, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to escape from the seven-colored Dragon Tribe. Jean Ling entered the small world in the dragon carriage and sighed softly in her heart. Since she was passing by the Seven Colors Nebula, she had expected that she would be discovered. However, Jean Ling did not have the immortal Dao. The seven-colored Dragon Lord was so sharp. He actually wanted to intercept her. He must have sensed something. Wang Feng raised his head and looked at Jean Ling, who had returned. He asked, "How's the situation?" He pretended to ask. In reality, he had complete control of the situation outside. After all, he had come to the 10,000 Dragons universe for the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. Wang Fengxian had naturally expected that the Dragon Tribe would be able to comprehend and use the power of the Great Path in the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. However, that was definitely only a small part of it. Most of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl should still be in a sealed state. At most, it would leak out a bit of its power, just like the 10,000 Dragons Pearl in the Dragon God realm. Therefore, Wang Feng was not in a hurry and directly took the 10,000 Dragons Pearl from the Dragon Tribe. The power of the Great Path in the Creation Jade Disc was extremely vast. That 10,000 Dragons Pearl was only barely enough to activate the Creation Jade Disc. If he wanted to completely merge it and make the Creation Jade Disc absorb more power of the Great Path, 1 or 2 10,000 Dragons Pearls would not be enough. I barely passed. Jean Ling frowned slightly. That seven-colored Dragon Lord must have sensed something when he intercepted me. If he knows about the ruins, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for me to monopolize the 10,000 Dragons Pearl with my strength. In fact, she would not be able to obtain anything. Where are the ruins? Wang Feng asked. Jean Ling looked at Wang Fengxian and her heart skipped a beat. You are also very interested in the 10,000 Dragons Pearl? Jean Ling suddenly said. How about this? You go to the ruins with me. As a reward, if you find the 10,000 Dragons Pearl, I will give you one. You can sense the power of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl, so it will be easier for you to find it in the ruins. What do you think? If you are unwilling, I will put you in a safe place on the Dragon Star. You are free to do whatever you want. Chapter 1899. She said that out of helplessness. To be honest, being able to sense the 10,000 Dragons Pearl was a very unique ability. In the 10,000 Dragons universe there were such dragons. However, those dragons usually only served the mystic Dragon Emperor. Moreover, their senses were based on experience and the assistance of various artifacts. Only then could they sense the approximate location of the 10,000 Dragons Pearl. It might not be accurate. However, this mysterious dragon could not only sense the 10,000 Dragons Pearl, but she could also sense the power situation inside the pearl. It was indeed unique. Sure. Wang Feng smiled. It was possible. However, if what this dragon lady said was true and there were many 10,000 Dragons Pearls in the relic, it would not be just one. He had entered the 10,000 Dragons universe. Without disturbing the mystic Dragon Emperor, he would naturally seize as many 10,000 Dragons Pearls as possible. Anyway, he was only here temporarily to take a look at the situation. He would not be in the 10,000 Dragons universe for long. If not for emotiance, Wang Feng would not have planned to come at this time. If that is the case, I will tell you the general situation. Jean Ling nodded slightly. It was good that he did not reject. She would be surprised if he rejected. Since he was so mysterious, she had to be on guard. However, she still had to tell him the situation. After talking for a while, Wang Feng finally understood. He also roughly understood the situation in the 10,000 Dragons universe. Jean Ling knew about the relic. It was not ordinary. The mystic dragon emperor had a very favored princess of the dragon race under his command. Because this dragon princess had a bloodline very close to the mystic dragon emperor's. Hence, she was highly valued by the mystic dragon emperor. Naturally, this dragon princess had a very high status. Coincidentally, the dragon clan's princess had run into Jin Ling when she returned from outside. At that time, the dragon princess was being chased by a group of extraterrestrial beings. In an emergency situation, she fought with the princess and forged a deep friendship. Later, this dragon princess stayed in the crystal dragon race for a long time, and their friendship deepened. When this dragon princess was discovered to have the bloodline of the mystic dragon emperor, the mystic dragon emperor was alerted and personally came out to check. So, the news of the ruins was told to you by the dragon princess? Wang Feng was rather surprised. Yes. Jin Ling nodded. Why would she tell you such important information? Wang Feng asked in surprise. The 10,000 dragon pearl is so precious. Why wouldn't she enjoy it for herself? Because she doesn't need the 10,000 dragon pearl. Jin Ling said indifferently. Are you trying to say that the ruin is not simple and is very likely to be very dangerous, so she did not enjoy it alone and instead wanted me to go and use me as an experiment? Wang Feng did not answer. This dragoness was very smart. Clearly, she had thought of this. First of all, she already told me that the ruins are very dangerous, Jin Ling continued. Furthermore, I might not be the only one entering. Many people knew about this. Apart from the myriad dragon pearl, there are other treasures inside as well. Wang Feng pondered for a moment. As for me, I need the myriad dragon pearl. Danger is inevitable. Even if it's a trap, if we tell the entire 10,000 dragons cosmos about it, any dragon master will go there without hesitation. Even if there's a 1 in 10,000 chance of obtaining the 10,000 dragons pearl, it's still not enough. None of the dragons of the myriad dragons universe will give up. Hearing this, Wang Feng naturally did not refute. That dragon princess. When Wang Feng said this, he paused for a few seconds. What? You're interested in the dragon princess as well? Jin Ling's gaze was somewhat strange. I'm just curious. Wang Feng shook his head slightly. This kind of information, where did she come from? The location of the ruin is no longer within the 10,000 dragons cosmos. It's equivalent to entering another cosmos. Entering another cosmos should not be as safe as the 10,000 dragons cosmos. As you said, the 7-colored dragon master you faced just now only wanted to trap you and take a share of the loot. However, if it's a life form from another cosmos, it might want your life. Jin Ling smiled slightly and said, Don't worry. Although the location of the ruin is in another cosmos, it is very unique. However, this region was very unique. It did not belong to any universe. Instead, it is in a special space. To be precise, it belongs to the primal chaos gap where the various cosmoses alternate. Wang Feng knew about this primal chaos gap. Different cosmoses were not adjacent to each other. However, in the multivariate cosmoses, they were made up of countless cosmoses. These cosmoses were not adjacent to each other. Between them was the primal chaos gap that separated time and space. It was an unknown region of the multivariate cosmos. No one knew what they would encounter in there. In there, all the rules were different. After saying so much, Wang Fengxin's heart suddenly moved. I think that before you enter the will relic in this primal chaos gap, you might already be gone. ? Jin Ling frowned slightly. What do you mean? What I mean is, Wang Feng pointed outside. There are many dragons following behind your dragon chariot. They chatted for a while. However, during this short period of time, the dragon chariot was extremely fast. It had already left the range of Jin Honglong's dragon star. It's the 7-colored dragon race. Jin Ling suddenly stood up. Her eyes were cold. It seems that they are really persistent. After saying that, Jin Ling looked at Wang Feng. You are seriously injured. How can you still sense these dragons? This was the second time. My injuries are almost healed, Wang Feng said slowly. However, these 7-colored dragons you mentioned are only following behind you. They have been following you for a long time. A long time? Jin Ling murmured. It seems that they started when I left Jin Hung Long's Dragon Star. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Haven't you already guessed it? Wang Feng said with a smile. Moreover, they are only following you. It seems that they do not intend to fight with you. Clearly, they want to know the direction you are heading in. Humph. Jin Ling sneered. I knew this would happen. However, it doesn't matter. Once we leave Rainbow Galaxy, we will no longer be in their territory. That's right. Wang Feng said meaningfully. Now that it's not their territory, they can do whatever they want. Especially when you leave the 10,000 Dragons cosmos. Jin Ling knew what Wang Feng meant. However, her expression did not change. She did not seem to be afraid. You don't seem to be afraid? Wang Feng asked. When I passed by Rainbow Galaxy, I thought about this problem. A similarly profound smile appeared on Jin Ling's face. I think that if the 7-colored dragon tribe really wants to tail me, then... That's right. Then, what will happen then? They can't blame anyone. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.